Excuse me, I was just parking the Ferrari. Good morning and welcome to episode 3 of Full Throttle here on Unprecedented TV. This is where we put the pedal to the metal on issues hitting British drivers and road users and hitting road users hard in general. I'm Paul Naylor, Communications Director for the Alliance of British Drivers, and today we're tackling the soaring costs of fuel and the government's relentless net zero agenda.
And I'm Brian Gregory, Policy Director of the Alliance of British Drivers. We're thrilled to be joined by Howard Cox, the dedicated and fearless founder of Fair Fuel UK, who's been fighting for fair fuel prices and a fair taxation regime for road users for many years now. We'll uncover how his campaigns have saved drivers millions and challenge the government's one-size-fits-all EV push and expose the real economic fallout for hauliers and everyday motorists. Buckle up, this is Full Throttle.
And okay. Here he is.
Howard, we're going to divert off script because I know you want to talk about Noel Wilcox and about the ULEZ situation. Do you want to go into that first, and then we'll go into other stuff?
Well, it's your show. You dictate. It's your agenda. I mean,
go for it, Howard. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah. I was in the Royal Courts of Justice yesterday, and I think this explanation, Noel Wilcox is one of those fearless small businessmen, a scaffolder, who was issued with so many penalty notices for going through the LEZ, which is the commercial in terms of charge going into the low emission zone, as opposed to the ultra low emission zone, which is obviously for everyone that is doesn't qualify. But he was issued with about £11,000 worth of notices. And to cut a long story short, he said, this is not right. I don't understand what I'm being penalised for, because all of his vehicles are very up to spec, clean emission vehicles, they don't strictly speak the category Euro 6 stuff. They're probably Euro 5, most of them, but that's not the point. They're still clean and they're getting cleaner. And he thought, no, there's something wrong with this. Then he just looked at one of the signs that he was going into. I think he was going on the western side of London and driving in. He suddenly realised there wasn't much information on this sign. It just said LEZ. Now, what the hell does that mean if in terms of the price of cheese? He actually, he just thought, what's going on? So he decided to challenge it. And bless his cotton socks. I've known him for quite a long time now, and I was right in there in the beginning with this campaign. And I managed to get the Sun involved and a lot of other media involved because of my work with Fair Fuel UK. In a nutshell, he's actually taken TfL, Transport for London, to court on 3 occasions. The first 2, or in fact all 3 are county court ones, and just moving up to seniority each one. And the first 2, he basically won them. That proved that the signs, and by inference, ULEZ as well, unfortunately, do not meet the authorization of the Department of Transport. And what it means is that you're not getting the information of what you've got to pay and when you've got to pay it. Those are the sorts of things that were not there. And especially for people ignorant, they go in there and white van man drive his LEZ into an LEZ zone, he suddenly gets a fine for going through. All those sorts of things. Anyway, the first 2 court cases which I attended with him, he won them. He had a rough time with it, and guess what? TfL just chose to ignore the actual result of those court cases, and so he's had to go on and on to try and get his money back and his costs. But more to the point, ever since that particular adjudication, and it was a true adjudication that these signs are illegal, Sadiq Khan and TfL still continue to actually take money from motorists despite knowing the signs are illegal. Sorry, illegal is slightly different. It's unlawful.
Unlawful.
I'm regularly criticised for that, but sod it. Who cares? They are illegal. And yesterday he was in Royal Courts of Justice, and we sat in this chamber. Only 6 of us were allowed in this chamber, and Noel wanted me in there, and we had the Sun, Mike Ridley in there from the commercial, well, basically the features editor of the Sun. And there was GB News in there as well. Susan Hall, the Tory, assembly member and head of the Conservatives in Sadiq Khan's, dictatorship. And from this point of view, we sat there thinking, I was reasonably optimistic, but how wrong I was, because what happened was the defence, TfL came up with a defence saying, well, of course, you realise if we actually acquiesce to the claimant's demands, i.e. Noel Wilcox demands that they're not denying that they're illegal or unlawful. They're not denying that. They're just saying if this goes through, his court case goes through and it's judged in his favour, it would impact on the fact that it probably would bankrupt TfL because they'd have to pay back billions of pounds. And secondly, Brian, Paul, you guys really resonate with this one. They also said, of course, if we stop this project, there'd be bad air quality.
Yeah, right.
So I watched this and in amazement, and what's even worse though is I put out a press release yesterday to about 292 national media outlets, and only 3 or 4 have taken them up. And this is what's really worrying me, because this is a David and Goliath thing. And this is, we've got a major, as usual, they're well funded. They've got masses of lawyers, TfL, and they can put 2 fingers up to anything they do, because, a judge will generally, and we know that most judges these days are slightly left of centre, as we've seen with the Eppings, issue.
Yeah.
And I've come across the 2. I've been dealing with the things. There's so many things like judicial reviews, I'd like to take up, which are expensive. But even that is, you can only do a judicial review on the basis of procedure, rather than, and you'd have to spend £300,000 just to get a judge to look at it. And these are the sorts of problems we got. Noel is a fantastic character, incredibly. He's not giving up. He's going to appeal. He's got 21 days to appeal. And the worst thing about yesterday, the costs, he's got to pay costs of £3,500. And, he's the one that's proved that the TfL have actually used signs to get money off people illegally, and yet
they're unlawfully extracted money. Well, is that not obtaining money by menaces or whatever? I mean, it's
yes, absolutely, yes, Brian, absolutely, definitely, that's exactly it. And this is what we're fighting against in this day and age. And we probably come on to some of the political stuff I'm doing, but fundamentally, the small man, and Joe Public. It's been trounced upon all of the time in favour of left-wing positioning, which is obviously net zero sits there, and obviously, we'll come on to Fairfield UK in a minute, but anti-driver policies generally, everything from LTNs to congestion charge to parking charges. We can go on, cycle lanes. All these sorts of things are impacting on our economy, and we got a government that just tends to lie its streak. It got into power by lying. Its manifesto was written by Enid Blyton, and we're in this situation now where I'm working in Parliament with some good people. We've got Tories, which are about as much used as a chocolate teapot at the moment. And and we got Nigel Farage's reform, which are rocketing, and good luck to them. But I mean, as you know, I stood for London Mayor for them, and I stood as for an MP down in Dover. I came second. I got 24% of the vote down, and in 3.5 weeks, and I was quite proud of that. But we're coming to where I am now a bit later on. But what's happening is there isn't a voice for the people. But our politics is changing, and obviously, we got the Tommy Robinson situation. That I totally support Tommy. As you know, that's one reason why I've fallen out with Nigel Farage big time. And on September the 13th, there's going to be 1 million people in London to basically, on a freedom of speech celebration rally. And, I will be there. I've been asked to be at the backstage. I'm not sure if I'm talking, because I think he's got about 40 people talking, including people like Jordan Peterson and people like that. There's people coming from all over the place about freedom of speech. But and obviously Ben Habib will be there. I think he'll be speaking. So going back to the Noel Wilcox thing, he's going to appeal. He's going to try and do this, but the poor guy is using his own money all the time, and I'm going to work with him to get some sort of raise money for him. We've got to do that.
Crowdfunding or something like that, Howard.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why we've got to get that message out, because this is fundamentally wrong. He has done nothing wrong. Yes, he's not paid those penalty notices, but he won the case for the fact the reason why those penalty notices are invalid is because the signage pushing into that situation were unlawful. And he's proven that twice. And even the judge yesterday, or whenever it was, he actually agreed there's nothing wrong with that particular premise. What is wrong with it is the process of what the way it's gone. Even one thing that the TfL barrister said, he said, well, we have had some administrative errors in communications. I mean, what a load of bollocks, you know. I'm sorry. I hope this is an over 18 channel.
But there goes our PG rating.
you get what I'm point. Noel is fighting for the small man, small business, and you know, everyone going into London, and not just London, other urban areas in Birmingham, Manchester, right across the country, up your way, Brian. Everyone's being penalised going anywhere on just being safe in a car, doing work in the car, or going to the hospital in the car. They're going to be penalised.
Yeah. Well, the stuff that they've done against Noel, basically, they've made him the poster boy of this campaign. So that's their own doing. You know. Yeah.
Absolutely. But certainly, if he does want crowdfunding or whatever, please pass the information on to us, Howard, and we will circulate it to our members and to others as well, as as widely as possible.
We'd be happy to promote that. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I mean, the key thing as well here is the signage is illegal, but now the quality of the vehicle fleet is so good that the main problems with emissions in London area are due to all the bus lanes, cycle lanes, narrowings, bush out dents instead of indents, all this kind of stuff that actually causes the traffic to travel slower than it did in in Roman times.
Don't worry, we've already had a bollocks, so it's all right.
The result is that air quality is worse than it needs to be if they just got the traffic moving instead of stationary. It's just ridiculous. And the other point, there's a guy in Scotland called John Lamb, used to work in the council in emissions, I believe, from his postings. He calls himself John Fisk Scotland, his Twitter handle. But he's established that in most of the Scottish ULEZ zones, the air quality was already better than the level to make the ULEZ zone unnecessary before they actually installed them. So the
air quality argument, we all know, is complete and utter. It's a masquerade for collecting money off of people.
No, absolutely.
And a political agenda to get the motorists off the road. Those are the things that's happening. We know that, and that's why you guys have been great at this. I've been doing my little bit, and all those sorts of things. We've got to keep fighting this. And unfortunately, Rishi Sunak made it difficult for us by going through an early election last year. And so the Tory party, which, they're a bit like a chocolate teapot, as I said earlier, but we've lost any opposition to that because there are a few Labour petrol heads, which I'm working with, but not many. Most of them are sycophants, will buy into Starmer big time, and they will do what he says. And unfortunately, with his massive majority, we've got to, I'm afraid we've got this for the next 3 years. And we've got to actually put the argument across. And we're coming out, they've delayed the budget to nearly Christmas. It's November the 26th, which that's nearly, it's virtually 3 months from now. And I was preparing for it to be in about October because, you know what I do. And I'll be inviting you guys to come to parliamentary receptions and things like that, like I've always done. But so we got to time this quite well. Our big enemy in this is the mainstream media.
Yes,
they are. I mean, I do most of my communication now on people like Dan Wootton, Paul Thorpe, Richard Inman. I'm doing one for Peter McAvenny on Hearts of Oak tomorrow. I get more traction and more sign-ups to Fairfield UK by talking. And like your show now, and congratulations on Full Throttle. Well done. I wasn't aware of this, and I'll do my best to promote you guys and put the link out to people. But when you come, I mean, I'm very close to the Sun. As you know, I've written many articles for the Sun. But because this is an interesting little journey of my political career, which I didn't expect to do. I didn't expect to be 15 years later still handling Fairfield UK. But the thing is, I was asked by Richard Tice, about 2 years ago, nearest damn it, to stand as London Mayor. And it wasn't my good looks. It's because I got 1.7 million people signed up to Fairfield UK. And because I appeared on many of his shows on Sunday mornings talking about political issues related to the motorists. And, I don't know how many times I said no to him, but because that was the point when, you know, Sadiq Khan, he decided to actually introduce the ULEZ extension around London. It fitted in well with what I was doing with Fairfield UK and you guys as well, ABD. And so I said, okay, I'll do it because it does fit there. Because the major issue was ULEZ extension in the whole of the London Mayor campaign. And, I didn't do too well. I came fifth out of 14 candidates, and everyone was saying I'm going to split the vote because, you know, the Conservatives, because it was a two-horse race, really. It always has been. But the issue was that it's impossible to win in London. It is impossible. I mean, I know Sadiq Khan is trying to get the leadership off of Keir Starmer. He's got no chance. He's got as much chance as Angela Rayner now. And when we're looking at this situation with Sadiq Khan and what he's done to London, your point is valid, Brian, about what's happening in London. You only have to go down the embankment and see a cycle lane bigger than a 44-ton truck, and it's normally empty. And those are the sorts of things we got. One in Park Lane, as you know, there always was a cycle lane in Hyde Park next to Park Lane, and that was always a 50-mile-an-hour dual carriageway. It's now got another cycle lane in it, and the road's restricted to 20 mile an hour. So it's just wrecking things. And I still get around about 2,000 emails a week from, and most of them are from disgruntled small businessmen who say they're not bothering to go into London again, or into Birmingham, or into Manchester, and all to these places, or into Bath or Oxford. You've heard those two places are really bad. And what this November the 26th budget is doing, they were hoping things are going to get better in 3 months, and it ain't, as we know that. And I hear they are. I've got a contact in the Treasury, and I'm hearing they are going to really hit the motors hard with an increase in fuel duty. I've heard this every, and I didn't expect them to keep it frozen last year. I was really surprised by that. And so it was a lot of good work we did. That we did the usual thing, delivering a petition to number 10 and having various other things as well, and getting supporters to write to their MP and to the ministers, etc. It was wonderful how we did it, and I didn't expect to get it. You know, I went to with people like Priti Patel, Esther McVeigh. They came along, and Graham Stringer, the only Labour MP that is still quite good. But running an all-party parliamentary group without enough Labour people is very difficult now. But I repeat, and it's good. My wife has just pointed the message. She said I should emphasise. My darling wife Jenny has just said, mainstream media is the issue, and that's where we suffer, because they don't care about 37 million drivers, because most of them are in urban areas and they've got fantastic public transport, and most of them are slightly left of centre, and so that's our problem this time. But because guess what, we got a black hole, not 22 billion, we got 50 billion, haven't we? So what's she going to do? She's got three options: print money, cut spending, or increase taxes. There's no way they're going to cut spending, are they? No. But
we discussed this on the episode we did with Catherine Porter. There's a Churchill quote which, you know, I think is really summarises it. Churchill said that you can't tax your way to prosperity. He said basically it's like standing in a bucket and trying to pick yourself up by the handles of the bucket, you know? And that's what they're trying to do. It's just I don't know how many. I mean, you were involved in various financing certain of our CBR economics stuff we did over the years, and it's concrete proof that independent economists will tell you if you hit, most of these taxes are regressive. If you hit and these taxes hit the poor the most, and that's the issue about it. And these people supposedly are Labour voters, most of the poorest. Well, that's all changed now. The whole sort of scenery in terms of politics is completely different now. There was an interesting program on Talk TV this morning with Alex Phillips. She was talking about the influence of the Fabian Society on Labour. It's worth watching. We won't go into it here because it's going into politics, but it's quite interesting. She was executive, shall I say?
the Fabian Society is a communist party. Basically, it's a secret society. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Apparently, their logo is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yes, that's correct.
Anyway, moving on. Let's take
things right back to the start. Let's go right back to the start, right?
We've covered Noel Wilcox, but let's rewind and ask. Well, you were going to ask the first question, Paul.
Let's rewind right back to the start. So you've hinted that we're talking about 15 years ago, Howard, when you first got involved in all of this. Is that about right? About 15 years?
Yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah. So you'd have been about 20 at the time, something like that. Yeah.
How much do I owe you, Paul? Sorry.
And I'll send the invoice. But no. So how did that all come about, and your involvement since then in the automotive fuel supply security sphere?
Well, my background has always been in data-based technology, and also helping small businesses to trade into prosperity rather than cutting costs and making it profitable. I try and actually make them. So communication has always been my sort of strength. I don't know what this is the way before social media was so strong. And what happened was I was working for a small company doing some consultancy work. It was a trucking business. And this trucking business had about 50 trucks. Most of them were 44 tonners, Arctics, etc. And one day I was in the managing director's office having a good old natter about things, and he had his few spreadsheets open, and I was quite good at reading upside down. I used to do that because I was a medical rep once, way because my background's in pharmacology. But I looked at this and I noticed there was a line about his fuel costs. And his fuel costs, I looked at it and I did a quick calculation based on what he was spending on a year, and that it worked out to be around about 44%, of which 70% went to the government in tax. I just simply asked the question, how do you do that? Because these Arctics were doing 5, 6, 7 miles to the gallon. And at that point, as I say, the tax was 70% with the VAT on top of the fuel duty, etc. And I just don't know how anyone can run a business on that in that situation. And we were by a million miles the most expensive, most taxed nation in the world in terms of motorists. The sad thing is we still are for diesel. So anyway, I said to them, MD, I said, who's doing anything about it? What about the RHA and the FTA, which are now called Logistics UK? And I said, what are they doing about it? What are the RAC and the AA? What are they all doing? He said, well, they do the usual thing. They send a letter every year just before the budget. We don't want you to put up fuel duty. And that's all they do. So I actually set it up with the actual managing director of Fairfield UK, and we decided to actually do something about it. So we got the RAC and the AA together, and they never talked to each other. The AA decided to drop out. The RAC decided to back Fairfield UK. The FTA and the RHA, we got them together, and I was amazed that they don't talk to each other either, because they're competing for the same membership. I understand to some extent, but the amazing thing was that they didn't have a clue about to lobby government, and the most important thing was to get all road users together. And it wasn't just about trucks; it was about white van men, which they didn't have membership of those then. They do now. And of course the RAC and AA, who are now ready. I think they're just cyclist organisations now. No, seriously. Edmund King says you should cycle. Active transport it's called or whatever. But anyway, so I got this thing together. If you remember at the time, there was a certain Prime Minister called David Cameron there, and a certain Chancellor called George Osborne. Who were actually adopting a thing which in every budget, a thing called a fuel price escalator.
Right.
And the fuel tax escalator was essentially for every sort of autumn statement or spring statement or budget, whatever, they all merge into one thing these days. They could put fuel duty up by a inflation plus 2p or something like that. And that was cast in stone sort of thing. And we challenged this, and I sat in just not far from here. I got an outbuilding which is sort of like an external office. It's my wife's taken it over now. But anyway, I sat in there for hours and hours and hours, and we were the first people to get the e-petition 100,000 debate on the floor of the House of Commons. And that was done simply by playing with Facebook and at the time Twitter. And that was in its infancy. They were not that big either then. And we managed to get 100,000 people to actually sign that petition. And we were the first to do it. Nowadays, the e-petition's a bit abused now. You get the lesser spotted woodcocking, whatever it is. But the issue was that we suddenly got a presence. And the most important thing for me at that time, I met a guy called Robert Halfon, MP. And, this is a guy who's on crutches. He's a paraplegic MP, backbench for Harlow MP. And we just hit it off. And we got together and we set up Fairfield UK in Parliament. He was Mr. Fairfield UK. And I have to give Osborne his credit. And I met with him and he was a bit pissed off with me, the fact that that budget in March 2011, he actually dropped it by a penny. It could have gone up by something like 4p. Around about £2.50 per average family car tank at the time. But he knocked it down a penny. But because the pound was so bloody weak, that penny drop wasn't noticed,
It was absorbed.
He was a bit pissed with me that I didn't give him recognition for that. But anyway, the rest is sort of history. We got into Fairfield UK and we built up. And today we have 1.7 million sign-ups. It's got pretty stationary for the last sort of 5 or 6 years at 1.7 million, of which 250,000 are very active. 100,000 will do anything I say. They will contact their MP or a minister. So that's about 300,000 really active. That's 1.4 million that just have signed up. They just get an email from me and things like that. But that's the point, though. There are 37 million motorists in this country. And most of them just take it on the chin, and most of them are pretty apathetic about anything about it. And yet, when it comes to the crunch, they go and fill up. They think, oh, it's gone up, hasn't it? Or those sorts of things. And that's what's so frustrating about the type of people in our country. And it's been about 3 occasions in the last 15 years I thought, I'm giving this up. I can't be bothered because of that apathy.
Yes.
It is.
And as you quite rightly say, Brian, many times talking to you, is when we actually ask somebody to do something about this, this is really serious because the cost of fuel, the cost of transport impacts on every aspect of our lives.
Yes.
Absolutely everything. Even if you don't drive, even if you're a bloody vegetarian and you want your vegan burger delivered, these sorts of things are so critical. And we know when the inflation results are announced, the next sentence is usually these economists say, or the commentators say, oh, the pump prices went up. That's why inflation went up, or nearly always. And I built a relationship with the media, particularly the Sun, even though they always take credit. It's the Sun what won it, that sort of thing. And they are a bit disingenuous in that respect. But I live with that. I don't care how we get to the result, as long as we get to the result. I'm not in this for personal gratification. This has cost me a fortune in 15 years. Thank heavens for ABD, helping me out on many occasions. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. And I wish we could still work closer. It's a shame that we haven't done, in my opinion. But we're coming to that. You asked me how did I get into it? It's this injustice of the motorist is seen as the pariah of all pariahs. And this building of the fact that, I get it all the time. I get death threats. I've had dog shit through the letterbox. I've had all sorts of things have happened to me. And I'm not giving up. But the net zero argument, as we all know, and I've learned a lot from you guys, all the evidence you put out there, and people like Paul Burgess and Brian Catt and all these people have really helped me understand net zero, because I knew bugger all about it until the last 10 years. And now, I presented at the weekend at the WITAN conference. I don't know if you heard of the WITAN 2025 in Birmingham, and about 150 people there. And at the conference, it was all about my talk was about net zero. And this is a bit of a laugh for you. You might think it's amusing, but one of the slides, about a third or fourth slide in, I had a big trigger warning for the next slide. And this trigger warning, a warning, Ofcom would have loved me. And I said, to anyone with a nervous disposition, or we got a sick bucket out there, we got everything for you, so don't worry. And I came out, saw Ed Miliband eating his sausage roll, and people cracked up. And I'm quite happy to send the presentation to you guys. It's quite good, but I just do not understand the blatant facts of the fact that net zero is a complete and utter con. That they can't see it, and this is why I decided to get into politics, because I realised there's so much dishonesty in politics, so much lies in politics. And there are some good people there, but not many left, I'm afraid. And that's the reason why I did go with reform. I regret that, and I come on to that if you want. I'm now with Ben Habib and people like Rupert Lowe and Elon Musk and Tommy Robinson. I'm working with those guys at the moment because they are truly honest people. And we have honesty in this. And my little bit, we got 3 months to the budget, and I'll be, doing the usual thing. Brian, the way I operate, why break a winning formula if it's etc. But I think this time will probably be the hardest ever because of the shit this government's created. They say, and guess what? You can imagine. It said, well, we're going to put it up by 2p. We have to do it because of the climate. you know, that shit. Not the fact it's going to cripple some business or going to put up inflation. They talk about they're trying to actually create growth. And she's stabilised it. I don't know how she can say that with her nose not getting bigger. But in essence, my focus is obviously on the budget. And the good news is that between us here, I don't know how many people listen to this, but I think Advance UK will be helping out with a bit of money behind Fairfield UK too.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. I mean, it's a very worrying situation because as we've just been discussing with Catherine Porter, when you actually look at any of this from a scientific perspective, it doesn't stack up. It's all ideology, and you can't engage with these people on a rational basis. They won't engage. They will try to shout you down or just not be prepared to come on programs with you. And they just, it's like a mantra,
Well, we're made to be the bad guys, aren't we? That's what we are. We want a clean environment. We want to breathe clean airs. We don't. I mean, the whole thing is a con. Yeah, it's a con. One of the things in the study I did, we asked how many people would actually believe that net zero can be reached, and 4 out of 5 of a 90,000 response said no, it's impossible. Right? They know. And we also asked the question: is there a climate crisis? You put the word crisis in because there isn't. No. And I said that. And as usual, something like 1 in 3 youngsters under the age of 30 believe there is.
Yeah, the ones who've been indoctrinated at school.
Yeah, you've got it in one, and there it is. You've got the mainstream media and education. Those two aspects we're fighting like mad against. And us old age pensioners, I don't know about you, Paul, but I think Brian and I are.
I'm getting there, close.
Yeah, but that's the point, isn't it? I know of people that are struggling to pay their heating bill, who were expecting a winter fuel allowance, and they were expecting that sort of thing. I know of a couple up the road, not far from me, that they opened the door and they got 3 blankets around them. These sorts of things. This is we're in a supposedly civilized society.
It's crazy.
And that we can give the Chagos Islands away for free.
Yeah. Don't even start me on that one.
But I mean, the other thing is that this stuff about the black hole. Well, if you're in a black hole, you don't spend 22 billion on carbon capture, which is untried technology. Nobody's made it work. You don't give 11 billion in foreign aid to climate change aid to nations outside the world, charity outside the UK. Charity begins at home.
Well, you're absolutely right. Ryan, you've got it spot on. I think the best carbon capture is to plant a load of trees. Yeah, it's as simple as that. I mean, we got 17. I think 17% of our country is built up, or maybe even less than that. I think it's quite small. Well, whatever it is, but there's a massive amount that isn't built up that could do with trees, which would stop flooding. And all this sort of thing. Great for wildlife and all that sort of thing. And above all, a certain thing called photosynthesis, we get a lot of oxygen at the end of the equation.
Yeah.
But that's actually been happening since the slightly higher carbon dioxide levels that we've had over recent decades. That there's been a definite global greening, and you can see that from even the UN's own stats. And that's great because, you know, more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere actually means better crop yields, means better water use, because when the carbon dioxide levels are higher, the plants actually manage water better. So, you know, areas that previously were desert can be made fertile, you know. So it's not a pollutant. It's the essential gas of plant life and our life. You know, it's madness to suggest it's a pollutant.
And the irony is there's not much of it. You know, in this presentation I did at the weekend, which did go down pretty well, is, you know, I asked the audience the usual thing, Brian. Paul, I asked them, what's the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere? And, you know, we went round the room and we got a 15%. We got the lowest one I got was 2.5%. And I said, okay. And I had a board up there. I just wrote 0.04%.
Yeah.
And I said, if it went to 0.08%, Africa would green up.
Yeah.
And those are the sorts of things that people don't know, and they couldn't believe it.
Well, but worse than that is this thing about when they start talking about carbon dioxide emissions, they're only talking about man-made emissions. And the percent of that 0.04% is bugger all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If we start emitting man-made carbon dioxide tomorrow, it wouldn't make any difference to the climate.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing's bonkers. Anyway,
we've actually got a tree consultant that advertises in our magazine, so that, you know, he's obviously very pro motors.
Right, okay. We've tried to get back onto the questions that we.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, I think we've.
I mean, it's real and it's good. But
I think Howard kind of answered the second question. So really, I suppose it's how much do you estimate, Howard, that you've saved UK road users over the time that you've been campaigning? And don't be modest.
Well, if you extrapolate the whole fuel price escalation, what would have happened? And it used to vary between, you know, 2p plus inflation or 1p plus inflation. I think it was one time it could have been 5p plus inflation. But if we took an average of that to today, the pump prices would have been probably for diesel £1 more and petrol 80p more on that basis. And for an individual, that sort of thing, I mean, we'd be in recession at that level, big time. We're nearly in it now, we know that. But we estimate that on that basis, we've saved the motorists £200 billion. Again, you can put your finger in the air and count at the back of a fag packer, so you just don't know what would have happened. But even under the Tory government, under Osborne and Cameron and Clegg, do you remember him?
Not fondly.
Come back. Yeah, all that nonsense.
And don't get me on Ed Davis. Don't forget, we got friends in Lembit Opic, and even he regrets it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but when if you actually look at what was happening then, they had no plans to get rid of the fuel price escalator, and it still exists. And what happens is the Chancellor gets up, and we will continue to keep fuel duty frozen, and we will not use basically put up the via the escalator. And so 200 billion, I don't know, but what matters to me is that when I see a little old lady with her little diesel Peugeot 10 whatever, you know, she's spending probably about £25 a month. She would have been spending probably £35 a month. That sort of thing, and that means a lot to me, because that 10 quid goes into what's food, all heating, etc. And that I get that. But what is sad, and this is very sad for me, is that the RHA and FTA and the RAC gave a lot of money to me, you know, but it was working out to be something like 150 to 200,000 pounds a year for the first 10 years of the campaign, because we couldn't have bought those CBR reports, could we, Brian? And those expensive, and that sort of thing, and the communication we had to do, the travelling around meeting, and all the other bits. Cut a long story short, it got to the stage just before COVID, the lockdown, that I got a phone call from the FTA CEO. How could you pop in? I said, just tell me now you want to drop me. So I knew it. I could feel it. Well, I've got to talk with you. And to be fair, we had a good chat about it. Yeah. And the same with the RHA that did the same thing. And the reasons they gave, get ready for this, is because of my support for that I didn't support net zero.
Yeah.
They're a haulage industry dependent on diesel, and yet they're pro net zero.
Yeah.
But I mean, the technology is not there to actually have a haulage fleet based on BEV, on battery electric vehicles.
Can you imagine it?
Imagine the size of the bloody battery.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it'd be sticking out the back of the truck, wouldn't it?
But this is the point. This is can I repeat? And my wife is reminding me again. The mainstream media do not sell this issue. The fact is that we produced that thing for the 2030 ban, Brian, didn't we? Yes. That thing. We know that. I did this again at the weekend. I said to, imagine you're an assistant to a minister, and you go into the environmental minister's office, knock on his door, and say, "I've got this great idea to save £76 billion in terms of if we actually go the environmental route." Well, no problem at all. Oh, great. Oh, great. Oh, by the way, how much did it cost? Oh, 486 billion pounds, 5 times. And you think, oh my God. And yet this is a fact thrown straight in the face. I regularly have arguments with Dale Vince, you did, and all those sorts of type of people, and they just don't get it. But they're making fortunes out of this green so-called technology.
Yes.
And when you see Ed Miliband saying, "I promise you, we're going to knock down 300 quid off your bills," and that they're going up like a rocket, and all we're doing is farming out our energy imports, etc. We're sitting on something like 2 or 3 trillion pounds worth of gas and shale gas, and in the North Sea oil, and you see North Sea absolutely doing wonderfully well. What are they missing? Tell me. I mean, I shout at them in meetings.
I think they're missing some grey matter between the ears. Is the problem, Howard?
Yeah. I know. And in the last 10 to 15 years, emissions from HG vehicles have come down by 65%.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to do with the things like subsidies for electric vehicles. It's down to clean fuel technology. It's evolving. We would be on Euro 8 now if it wasn't for what's happening now. And the 2030 ban, we did a great job with our report. We moved it back to 2035 when Sunak did that, which was a great job, Brian. And ABD and Motorcycle Action Group should take credit as well for that. But guess what? They come into power and they bring it back to 2030.
Yeah.
And that's only 4 years. And we're talking about January the 1st, 2030, right at the beginning. They're talking about this, and they're forcing manufacturers that 80% of all their production must be electric vehicles. I mean, this is not a free market.
This
is a dictatorship.
It's not a democracy. It's certainly not a democracy at all.
Even the Germans have realised their car industry is going to go down the pan if they continue down this net zero route, because they're just going to get blitzed out of existence by the Chinese with cheap battery electric vehicles. And we know that the problems with the safety of that technology. I mean, they may not go up as any more often than petrol or diesel vehicles, but when they do go up, you can't put the fire out. It's inextinguishable.
Well, you look at the number of shipping companies that won't have them on them now, buildings that won't have them parked anywhere near them. They wouldn't do that without there being a just cause.
No, absolutely.
What is sad, you think about it, since 2000, CO2 emissions or greenhouse emissions in UK have fallen by something like 45%.
Yeah.
In China, they've gone up 350%. We've done our bit here, and we're aiming. This whole thing about the 1.5 rubbish in the Paris Accord, which, thank God, Donald Trump's walked away from. If it wasn't for him, I nearly lost you there. Yeah. If it wasn't for Donald Trump, I would be very worried about the future of this planet generally.
Yeah. Well, I saw quite a funny. It wasn't Josh cartoons; it was the other guy that does all the cartoons. But basically, there was a picture of Miliband standing on the edge of a cliff with a load of sheep diving off, like lemmings, and he's saying, "Follow me, I'm leading the world."
Well, we're so arrogant to believe that man can do anything about any change to our climate.
We're even more arrogant to think that the UK could be a leader in it. I mean, we're a dot on the planet. It's like putting like a drop of orange squash into a glass of water. It's not going to do anything.
Paul, I couldn't put it any better. I mean, the thing is, what we've got to realise is that we've got to continue our fight and put this message out there. But I repeat, the mainstream media is our hurdle. And we're not the green side of the argument. Did you see the new green leader now and the deputy green leader? These people, you can. Oh my God! And we've got Ed Miliband, etc., and we've got the Labour Party. They are all bought into net zero. They've all bought into everything to do with that, and that you can't budge them. And the only way to do it is, this is why I've got huge. I mean, the reason why I left Reform is because I was threatened with expulsion by Richard Tice, because I spoke on a Dan Wootton show last October in support of Tommy Robinson. He basically asked me, he actually flummoxed me. I said, what do you think of Tommy Robinson, Howard? And I thought, well, I don't know anything about him. All I know is that he's brought to the attention of us the child rape gang issue. And huge congratulations to that. I don't care what he's done in his past. All I know, he's doing a cracking job on that. And then I got a phone call and a text from Richard Tice, who was supposedly a dear friend of mine. He said, Howard, if you continue to do that, you support Tommy Robinson, we're going to expel you. And I said, what? I thought we were a party of free speech. Most of the stuff I agree with Reform's policies, except Tommy Robinson. Surely you agree about the child rape case? Of course we do. I said, well, Tommy Robinson, you don't have to like Tommy Robinson, Richard Nigel. You don't have to like the guy. Just be honest about it. But they rubbished him. They even accused him of beating up his wife and things like that. And then you saw what they did to Rupert Lowe, accused him on various things. All those sorts of things. And you think, hang on, am I in the right party? So I rang up Ben Habib, who became a friend, because he was thrown out. Leader. And Ben said, Howard, if I were you, I'd get out before they throw you out. So I decided to leave, and we had a long chat about what we're going to do at the party. He doesn't need to do what he's doing now. He's a very rich man, stinking rich man. We've broken up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me. Ben doesn't need to do this. He to be leader of this, but he's doing this because he passionately cares about we have the right, honest and transparent party. And as far as Tommy Robinson is concerned, I thought, sod this, I'm going to find out more about this man. So I visited him in prison. I did. I spent 2 hours with the guy, and it was the most inspirational, refreshing experience of my life. I spoke for 5 minutes. He spoke for 1 hour, 55 minutes. And that's the sort of stuff. No, you just sit there in awe of his knowledge, his experience. He is a journalist. Yes, he's rough around the edges. I was born in Southeast London, which is pretty common. He's more East London and that sort of thing. The guy is passionate. You think what he's gone through. He didn't. He could. All this. It's a bit like Lucy Connolly and all those sorts of things, and Peter Finch and all these things. And now we're seeing with Graham Linehan.
Political prisoners.
Again, they are painted through the prism of the mainstream media, if you like. That our understanding of these people is very much coloured by how they're covered by the media, as we've discussed. Can I suggest we haven't had a break? We should have a break and then come back. Because I'm following the script. We should have had a break quite a while ago, but we haven't.
I think Charlotte's going to drop some in. Don't worry, Charlotte's going to drop them in. Yeah, right. She can edit that last couple of seconds out. That's all. All right,
fine. All right. So we'll just keep cracking then.
Yeah.
So we talked about the direct benefit of about 200 odd billion that you've saved, but surely that's an accelerator thing, because, like you said, that money puts more money in people's pockets. It makes the economy work better and more efficiently. So the total value is probably significantly more than just the straight 200 billion, Howard. But as you say, Logistics UK, FTA, whatever they now call themselves, they essentially cut you loose a while ago. Have they never come back, never offered to look at the situation again, or even put your name forward for awards or anything like that, because
Yeah.
you save British road users a shed load of money, and the economy, accelerated on that even more money.
And just to bolt onto that, to bolt onto that, financially support you in any way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is the point. At the moment, my backing at the moment is zero.
Right.
No money whatsoever coming in, except for the odd sticker order. I'm about to send out a nice email, ask for some money from people, and but most of my supporters are actually probably low-income people, and it's difficult to do that. But thank you for your kind words, Brian. I really appreciate that. But the thing is, that they won't come back to me. They couldn't swallow their pride and come back to me about this, because they're so bought in. They're very close to various committees in Parliament, especially net zero committees and all that sort of thing. People, another great politician I was very close to was called Craig McKinley, the Bionic Lord. And
he's now with net zero. What is it?
He still is. He's working with Harry and the gang and that sort of thing. The thing is, I lie awake at night thinking which way this is going to go, and it won't go anywhere. If you see, I'm in love with fossil fuels, therefore I am the devil. And you try the green side; they're absolutely flooded with money. The Dale Vinces of the world, all those sorts of things. But I'm guilty of not asking for money. I've never really gone to someone. I can be quite persuasive, but I don't like to demean myself against an obvious argument. And I know that sounds silly, but I've got to do. I am 70 now, and really I don't need to go on with this way. But I've been convinced by Ben to keep going, and people like Rupert Lowe, who I'm very close to. When I stood for London Mayor, the ULEZ expansion argument was what I was going to get rid of all of ULEZ. I was going to introduce police stations inside 24-hour units like supermarkets, so people walking at night, those sort of that sort of thing. I can go on about some other policies, but I understand that other people are trying to pinch those now. That idea, it's typical that going forward. And I was very close to Nigel Farage. And, many a time I had a chat with him, and he was angry with me when I didn't actually stand for the assembly because I moved down the pecking order, and Alex Wilson got it for reform, and I pushed him forward. But I could have had that position. Yeah. But what's the point of being in as I said, chocolate teapot? I mean, Sadiq Khan rules. You cannot get past him. You've seen some of his questions. The mayoral question sessions like PMQs. Have you seen him answer questions?
No.
He doesn't answer them. I mean, Susan Hall, who's the head of the Conservative part of that, asked a question recently. Do you agree that the Les and ULEZ signs are not lawful?
All right, okay, straight.
He came and said, yes, they are. He lied. These are the sorts of things. It's impossible. The job, you get 60 grand a year, I think, of being on the assembly, and you get the access to researchers and things like that. So that's a good part of it. But I think it's 14 of them on there. What a waste of that million or so money, because they can't do anything. You can't. It's a bit like Kemi Badenoch at the moment. She doesn't hold Starmer to account. He can sit there and say anything. He can lie through his teeth because it's such a. This is the problem we have, and I've always been in favour of proportional representation. But having said that, a lot of people say you'd never get anything done under proportional representation. But I would just want people to be represented. When you think that something like I think 48% of the population didn't vote in the general election, and I understand 60% people didn't vote in London, and only 18% that did vote in London chose Khan, and he became mayor. 18. Think about that. 18%. And to me, it's not a democracy anymore. And going back, I'm going with Fairfield UK. I'll be fighting like mad for a cut in fuel duty, but I don't hold your breath. If we get a freeze, it'd be monumental.
Sadly, I don't see that happening. It's the one form of taxation that they really haven't spoke about. So that tends to make you think that's going to be hit hard, and that has all sorts of ramifications. Yeah, it's going to be. Well, hopefully, it is the death knell for the Labour Party.
Well, I think the death knell's there now. They are dead in the water now.
Yeah.
But because they've got all those guys protecting their long pensions and their salaries, their 96,000 and easy life, and just go turn up and sit on the green benches and go yes to Keir.
Yeah, career politicians. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So November the 26th is everything. I'm focusing on that at the moment in time, and I'll be calling on you to come along, and I'm sure you guys will be happy to come and help. I'm always optimistic we can do it. I mean, if it goes up 1 or 2p, that's almost a moral victory.
Yes,
but I know they're modelling 10p again,
really?
Which is they've always been modelling that one 10p. And we got to save the planet. That's why we got to charge.
The planet's doing very well on its own, thanks. It doesn't need saving. It needs saving from the Labour Party and from eco zealots, but nothing else. It's you just wonder about the sanity of these people. Anyway, look, let's final. I'm just looking at myself. Final questions.
I'd probably just go for one final question, Brian, because I think it would be brilliant to have you on again, Howard, in the near future, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And we can go over some of these others.
So going forward, I think you'll like this question. What are your concerns about the technology mix, or rather lack of it, that the government's trying to impose on UK road users?
Oh God, you got in 3 seconds. It's a load of bollocks.
Ladies and gentlemen, good night.
The interesting thing is this, and it's very important for your viewers to understand. The only way electric vehicles can succeed is give them no taxation and give them subsidies, and also tell the opposition, i.e. diesel and petrol, that you can't produce cars after 2030. Now, if that's technology advancement, I don't know. It certainly isn't, is it? And from that point of view, I've never known it. It is Orwellian how we're being told what we can do. I mean, it's the biggest freedom of choice and freedom of our lives in the last 100 years has been the motor car. People seeing their families, going to hospitals, and all the other bits and pieces. It's also a very important thing when I was talking about in the mayoralship, it's one of the safest places to be in London, because I wouldn't let my daughter walk down the embankment after 11 o'clock at night. It's a bloody dangerous place, and I'm a true Londoner, and I live in the sticks now. But the car is essential for social, community, everything about it. Not just economical, but everything about it. And we always use the adage, that I got a good plumber friend who says, "Oh, I'm looking forward to buying one of these electric bikes to carry my copper tubes on and all my things like that." It's just stupidity beyond belief. And he also said, a petrol or an electric vehicle, I've got to have a diesel because I do carry a lot of weight. And to the sorts of things he says, and you do get 60, 70, 80 to the gallon. You don't from petrol, and you certainly do. I mean, I drive a hybrid, as you know, guys. You probably know I've always driven a hybrid. I've done that because Quinton Wilson, who was one of my partners of Fairfield UK, said you should get something that looks a bit clean, Howard. And we know, and I said okay, but as it happens, I love it because when it's below 25 mile an hour in London, it's an electric vehicle. And it's great.
Must spend nearly all its time below in the electric mode now.
Well, that's the point. You might charge it up and rev the engine up. Yes, you're dead right. And there's an example of a person who's a bit of a turncoat. It's Quinton Wilson, and it's so sad. I was very close to him, and we worked well together. And he did a good job doing his bit, talking about that. But I think he's a big turncoat, unbelievable. Dare I say, he's been paid a huge amount of money by some electric. I couldn't possibly say that, could I? I mean, in case any literature come my way.
Yeah, you might think that, but I couldn't possibly comment on it.
Allegedly always works very well.
Okay. So, I think we've had a really good conversation and discussion, Howard, but probably it's about the right time to bring it to a close. I think we've got to about an hour now of discussing.
It's blown by, guys.
Let's say it's a good first conversation, and then we'll leave it open for another one.
We should allow Howard to close the session down in his.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you for Full Throttle and all the people watching this. It's my big thing is make sure you guys are watching this. Sign up to Alliance of British Drivers and sign up to Fairfield UK. I don't want any money from. Well, I do want money from you, but the point is, I do need your email address for you to contact your MPs and things like that. That's how I use it. It's called advocacy marketing campaigning, and the more people contact. And our success is built on by the fact that there are about 2,300 supporters of Fairfield UK in each constituency, and where there's a small margin of victory for an MP, I do carry a bit of clout and influence there. So the more we have, and if you drive, it's not just if you drive a vehicle. Everything you do, everything that comes through your letterbox, everything you go and buy, the shopping and all the other bits and pieces arrived on a truck.
And it's powered by diesel.
Yeah, and the internet economy as well. I bet you're an Amazon bloody an Amazon file, whatever it's called. But the thing is that. So I'm saying thank you so much from Full Throttle, and thank you so much. Please sign up to fairfielduk.com. Thank you.
Cheers, Howard. Thanks, and you've all done very well, which is what I was expecting.
My wife, look at that. I show you this. My wife is just. You've all done. She's about to say you've all done very well. She remembered those. Take care. Thank you so much.